You ever feel like you've done everything right, but there's something you feel that's still missing? You earned the degree, you landed the job, maybe even you got the house. But deep down, your soul still feels, restless. And you can't shake the feeling. There must be more than this. We were told the invisible doesn't matter. That if you had enough, you would be enough. But now, quietly, more and more people are waking up. There's a hunger stirring in the world. One you've probably also felt. Maybe, just maybe, there's more to life than what we can see or touch. So think about that. The invisible world, something, unfortunately, we rarely consider, isn't just some distant idea. It's alive and active. And right now, it's fighting for your soul. More people are realizing angels, they're not just those things they used to say, just a sweet story or symbols from the past. They're real. They're messengers, warriors, and protectors from heaven. So, once again, let me take my trusty magnifying glass for us to take a closer look. Not just at any angel, but at the one God chose to lead heaven's armies through all of history. So let's dive into the story of Saint Michael, the fearless champion of nations. So I'm going to take you back to over 1,500 years ago, to a place in southern Italy. It's the year of our Lord 490. A nobleman searching for his lost bull climbs the rocky hills near Siponto, Italy. He finally saw the animal, and it was at the mouth of a dark cave on Mount Gargano. Frustrated, he shot an arrow, but it didn't strike the bull. It turned in midair and struck him instead. Startled, the townspeople turned to their bishop, who called for a 3-day fast, asking the entire community to pray. On the fourth morning, while in prayer, the bishop had a vision. And in this vision, an angel appeared to him. But not just any angel. It was the prince of the heavenly hosts, Saint Michael. And he said this: I am Michael, the archangel. I am always in the presence of God. I have come to dwell in this place, to guard it, and to show you that I am its guardian. He explained the arrow incident on Mount Gargano was no accident. It was a sign that the cave had been chosen by God. And he promised those that would pray there in that cave, they would receive great graces. And as a proof, that nobleman that was struck by his own arrow was miraculously healed. Now, of course, word of the miracle began to spread like wildfire, and pilgrims started to climb the mountain to seek St. Michael's intercession. But that was only the beginning. 2 years later, the people of Siponto were terrified when an army of barbarians approached. So the bishop, he went to the cave on Mount Gargano to plead with St. Michael. He urged everyone in the town, in the area, to fast and pray for 3 days. And on the dawn of the fourth day, September 29th, in the year of our Lord 492, St. Michael appeared once more. He gave specific instructions. Said, victory would come, but they must not attack before 4 p.m. So the bishop, he relayed the message to the people, and everyone waited and prayed. Then, just as foretold, the earth trembled. A violent storm descended over Mount Gargano, which is perched overlooking the Adriatic Sea. There was thunder, lightning, crashing waves, and everything. The enemy was thrown into chaos, and then they fled in fear. Now, the people had seen a miracle. Now, this was more than just a military victory. It was a divine intervention, a clear sign of St. Michael's protection. So, in thanksgiving, the bishop, he led a procession with all the people to the cave. And this time, when they got there, they found footprints stamped in the rock as if left by some invisible visitor. And of course, everyone knew it was St. Michael. 7 months passed. The following year, May 8th of the year 493, the bishop returned to the cave to commemorate the anniversary of the first apparition. And he wanted to build a proper shrine, you could say, but he wasn't sure how to do so. So he wrote to the Pope. And as we all know, in those days, there wasn't email, so everything took its time. And the Pope was very interested in the story. And he responded, if it were up to us, we dedicate the church on the day of the victory. But since that area there belongs to St. Michael, we should await his answer. And the Pope asked for another 3-day fast. So 7 bishops from all the nearby cities, they joined together. On the final night, September 29th of 493, St. Michael once again appeared. And he said, "It is not your task to consecrate this basilica," he said. "I, who laid its foundation, have already done so." In other words, this wasn't just any building. The archangel himself had claimed the space and made it holy. Human hands, they weren't needed to bless it because heaven had already blessed it. He promised that sins of those with contrite hearts would be forgiven in this place, and that he would guard the same place. At sunrise, the bishops and the people began a steep climb up Mount Gargano, a rugged and demanding pilgrimage through rocky terrain and everything. And as they went up, all of a sudden 4 giant eagles appeared. 2 of them shaded everybody, and the other 2 with their wings fanned the breeze. And when they reached the cave, they found a miraculous image of St. Michael on the wall. And inside was an altar carved in the rock and adorned with a cross, a symbol of the promised consecration. This sanctuary became known as the Celestial Basilica, the only church on earth not consecrated by human hands, but by an angel of the Lord. Later on, the Pope declared September 29th to be the feast of St. Michael. And as time went on, St. Gabriel and St. Raphael were added, making it the feast of the 3 archangels as we know today. Over time, many saints and popes made pilgrimages to Monte Gargano. Of these saints went St. Bernard, St. Catherine of Siena, St. Thomas Aquinas, and even St. Francis of Assisi. And centuries later, in the year of our Lord 1656, a deadly plague swept through Italy. And the people again turned to St. Michael. The archbishop of the area, he went to the sanctuary on Mount Gargano and placed a written prayer in the hands of the statue, asking for help. Now, as he was praying, once again the angel appeared and said, "Bless the stones of this cave. Mark them with my name and the sign of the cross. Whoever keeps one with faith will be protected." And, as we can all imagine, that's exactly what happened. From then on, the stones of Mount Gargano were distributed all across Italy and even beyond, used as sacramentals by the faithful to seek protection from illness, war, and evil. Today, the sanctuary of St. Michael at Monte Gargano still stands. Pilgrims still climb the mountain. But when was the last time you heard someone talk seriously about angels? Though their presence is constant, angels feel distant, you could say, unfortunately, in our modern world. Sadly, many have forgotten them. And even Some even say devotion to the angels. Nah, that's not necessary. That's something outdated from the past. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Heaven hasn't changed. The battle has not stopped. And the angels haven't disappeared. It's just that we have stopped paying attention to them. And that is exactly what the enemy wants. He wants that because our souls are under attack. Evil is not just present, it's aggressive. And St. Michael's role is more vital now than ever. He is not just a symbol, he's a warrior, a protector of nations, and a defender of your soul. So don't ignore the invisible, because the invisible is fighting for you. And if you want to truly fight back, there's no greater weapon than giving yourself entirely to the one who crushes the head of the serpent. And that is to consecrate yourself to our Blessed Mother. Give her your heart, not just a part of your heart, but the whole of it. Give her all your fears, your confusion, and all the battles you're fighting. And what's even better, you don't need to be perfect to have those perfect words or to have everything figured out. No. What matters is offering yourself to her honestly, humbly, and wholeheartedly. Our Blessed Mother doesn't guide through demands or force. She leads quietly and peacefully. When all of us entrust ourselves to her, we're not giving up control. We're receiving protection and strength. Consecration, it's not something complicated. It's just a yes. A quiet decision to stop walking alone. A moment of surrender that opens the door to transformation. Let her into the real parts of your life. All those fears, the failures, the dreams you're afraid to speak out loud. She will not abandon you. She will always walk with you. And if you've been searching for peace, this is where the path begins. And for that, I will leave a link to this free consecration in the description below. So back to St. Michael. Here's one more mystery of St. Michael to consider before we have to end our story today. Stretching across thousands of kilometers from Ireland to the Holy Land, big distance, there's a mysterious line, a series of 7 sites geographically aligned, dedicated to St. Michael the Archangel. It's known as the Sacred Line of St. Michael. Now it begins on a remote, windswept island off Ireland's coast. There, St. Michael is said to have appeared to St. Patrick. And centuries later, the monks built Skellig Michael, one of the oldest and most isolated monastic settlements in the Christian world. Now we follow a line further south, and you reach the shores of Cornwall in England, where the Archangel reportedly appeared to fishermen at St. Michael's Mount in the 5th century. Then, crossing the sea, we arrive at Mont Saint-Michel, there in France, perhaps the most famous of them all, where St. Michael called a bishop to build a sanctuary on that sea-drenched rock. Now we continue further along, going south. We reach the high Italian Alps, and there stands the Sacra di San Michele, watching over the valley below. From there, the line travels east to the Adriatic coast, to the very sanctuary we've been exploring, Monte Gargano. The grotto St. Michael himself consecrated. But the line doesn't end there. It crosses into the east, landing on an island of Symi in Greece, where an ancient monastery honors the Archangel's presence. And finally, it touches Mount Carmel, where the prophet Elias once stood, and is also in some way related to this archangel. Is it all just a remarkable alignment or something more? It's no coincidence that the two most iconic sites on the line, you have Mont Saint-Michel and the sanctuary of Monte Gargano, stand at the water's edge, exactly the same distance from the Sacra di San Michele, situated in the heart of Europe. Some say this line marks the path of St. Michael's sword, that same sword that struck down Lucifer in that first heavenly battle. Now, is that just a coincidence? Or something more? Maybe, maybe not. But here's what we know. With God, nothing is random. Every detail, no matter how small it is, has meaning. And in the invisible world where angels move, battles rage, and prayers rise, God is still speaking. The question is, will you listen? If you want to understand the actual fight happening beyond what we can see, the moment everything changed, then this video is for you. The battle for your soul is very, very real. We uncover the first battle, the moment that changed everything and set the stage for the fight still raging today. Don't miss it, because your soul depends on it. So, unfortunately, my time is up, but I hope to see you in the next video. God bless, and Salve Maria.